Hello, the name is Osvaldo Antonio Nyaka, and today we're going to be speaking about the dynamics of public speaking. First of all, I'd just like to start off with a message that is everybody has a unique message to share with the world. And this uniqueness is what helps others develop in their areas of development, and in essence, is what makes a difference in the world. Usually in my training programs, I usually come across people who have the fear of public speaking. And what I found throughout the years of giving public talks as well as consulting one-on-one, I find that most of us try to run away from the fear instead of trying to integrate it. And so in this short little video, we're going to explore the dynamics of public speaking. We're also going to explore how your unique message is engraved in the fears that you have. So throughout my journey in public speaking, I've discovered that there are three fundamental things to understand, or three rules, as you would put it, when it comes to public speaking. The first one is the messenger. The messenger speaks to you as the unique person who's talking about the message that they want to give out to the world. The second dynamic has to do with the message itself, the message in which you want to give to your audience, and the message that you also want to transmute to the world. And the third one is the manner in which the message is being delivered. This is sometimes can be on a one-on-one basis, it can be one-to-many, or sometimes it can be even through a product. So looking at these three dynamics, we're going to make an example of Phil Knight. Phil Knight has a unique message that he wants to give out to the world. Phil Knight, as we all know, is an entrepreneur who started the company called Nike. And in his message, he wants to give out the idea that you can do anything that you can put your mind to. So this speaks to his vision and the messenger itself, his philosophy and what he believes in life. You'll find that perhaps he went through many struggles throughout life. And the message that he wants to give out is that you can do anything that you put your mind to, and anytime you have an idea, you just do it. How does he deliver this message? He delivers this message through fashion, through sports, through the shoes that he designs, through the sportswear, the t-shirts that he gives out to the world. That's how he delivers the message that he wants to. Now, when you want to discover the message that you want to deliver, you first of all have to apply the principle that the Greeks always spoke about. And that principle is knowing thyself. Because the moment you know who you are, you're able to identify the things that inspire you. And in identifying the things that inspire you, you're then able to find where your unique message is. Perhaps what inspires you most is wanting to be an entrepreneur. And in you wanting to be an entrepreneur, there's a certain product that you want to get out to the world. Discovering that you're an entrepreneur allows you to not only be able to pick your topics better, it also allows you to find out where you have the competitive advantage over other people. So for instance, when it comes to me, there are three topics that I love speaking about that inspire me the most. The first one is philosophy. The second is psychology, and the third has to do with finance. Now, if you ask me to speak about cooking or make water mechanics, or if you ask me to speak about technology, I will be at a disadvantage. I won't even be able to speak for more than 5 to 6 minutes around those areas. So that is not the area that I'm specifically focused on. I focus on those three areas. And the reason why I focus on those three areas is because I know if you ask me to speak about those three areas, I'm going to come most alive. I'm going to speak for the longest of time. And by the time I'm done speaking, you will have walked away and been like, wow, I didn't know that. So the first aspect is you as the messenger have to identify where is it that you have the most competitive edge. And the question I always love to ask that I found in the DeMartini value determination process is it's these two questions. The first one is, what are the three things that you love learning about? And you write those three things down. By discovering the three top topics that you love learning about, you'll see that you can speak for hours and hours and hours and hours on this topic because you love it. You will be able to put yourself in learning that topic and wanting to master the topic. Then the second question you want to ask yourself is, what are the top 3 topics in which I mostly come alive in a social setting? I'm sure you found yourself being amongst friends in a business meeting or even at work where you just get bored and you zone out, you tune out. And sometimes you can be labeled as having that ADHD syndrome. But the moment a topic comes up where you're like, I love talking about this topic. It could be football, it could be music, it could be engineering. The moment those topics come up, you mostly come alive and you're able to contribute the most when it comes to those 3 topics. By being able to answer that, you're able to find the things that inspire you and the things where you can talk for very long in those areas. Then what you want to then do after that is also identify the fears that you might have when it comes to public speaking. The number one secret that I found is that we don't necessarily fear this. You don't fear public speaking. We fear the judgment that comes from public speaking. And these fears sometimes can be because you think that someone or something that you're speaking on a topic, someone in the crowd perhaps knows more about it than you do. But what I found is that when you get up on stage and speak, nobody actually knows what you're going to say. They don't know the format in which you're going to say it. They don't know where you're going to bring up the emotions. They don't know where your speech is directed towards. What you want to do in identifying those fears is not to run away from those fears, but instead being able to integrate those fears. I once had this very interesting client. She had this fear of going up on stage. And when we traced back that fear, she said, well, this fear came when I was about 7 or 8 and I was doing ballerina and I forgot my steps. And the moment I forgot my steps, I ran off stage and I vowed to never go back up on stage. So she had that fear of that judgment. And she wanted to change that fear so that the moment she changed that fear, then she'll be able to go into public speaking. But what we did is we integrated that fear and we saw how is it that fear is helping her. She then went into the history, went to the moment when that fear occurred and what were the benefits of that fear. And she used that fear to become an accountant. And because she became an accountant, she always had to sit behind a desk and only crunch numbers, never have to speak. And that made her become a very successful accountant that contributed to her financial success. So that fear that she integrated helped her in being able to become who she was. But then what we needed to then do is go in there and integrate that fear into public speaking and seeing how, when she experiences that fear, how to help her in a public speaking arena. So what you want to do is to integrate those fears that you have. And the moment you find your inspiration point, and the moment you find what fears you have, the fears that drive you, and you integrate those fears, then you're then able to give out that message. And remember that the message that you give out is integrated with those fears and your courages. And that's what makes your unique message come out. Then the second part, when it comes to the way or the format in which you want to give your speeches in, you then have to then identify where is it that you're speaking. If you're speaking on a one-on-one basis or if you're speaking to a crowd. If you're speaking on a one-on-one basis, the tone, the way in which the speech goes or the way you speak to the person would differ from how you speak into the crowd. For instance, if I am giving a speech to a crowd of, let's say, high school students, the message in which I deliver to the high school students will differ if I'm giving a speech to a group of CEOs. The language in itself will change. If I'm talking to a group of teenagers, I have to speak in a way that relates to them. I have to word in having fun, been able to, do what you want to do. I have to incorporate that message and that language. Whereas if I'm speaking to a group of CEOs, I have to incorporate the language of return on investments. This is how your company will grow. This is how the capital will increase if you adopt these methods that I'm speaking about. Then the message changes there. But remember, the fundamental part is you as the messenger have this unique message that you want to come across and give it. Then that's the message that you give out, depending on where you are, who you're speaking to, format it and speak to that person. Then the third part is then the delivery of the message, the medium in which it's being delivered. The medium then speaks to, if I'm doing it on a video, if I'm doing it perhaps through a brand that I'm want to deliver this message to. And what I love, again, about the example of Phil Knight is his message is through shoes. And fundamentally, he wants to get that across, and he grows that brand in that way. And you could do a podcast with him, do a one-on-one interview with him. The message will always be congruent to what is most inspired to him. And just remember that the three fundamentals that I spoke about are all integrated. But the most critical part, the most fundamental part, and the most, the thing to most focus on is not how you deliver the message, where you deliver the message, but in actual fact, the messenger itself, you as the messenger. The moment you know yourself, know the message that you want to give out, then that comes from an inspirational point where you're able to deliver the message to your audience. The format will all come into place. How you deliver it, vocal variety, body language, all of that will come into place the more you do it. And just remember that you have a unique voice and a unique message that's waiting to be heard.